Nick Lee just defeated Luke Pletcher in what was the best match of the entire season. But this season is far from over. Is Luke Pletcher going to be able to get his revenge on Nick Lee? Well, in this video, I'm going to be talking all about this match as well as the upcoming match between these two studs. So let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name's Josiah, and welcome to Fanco Wrestling. And on this show, we talk all about wrestling news, tips, and lifestyle. And of course, this week there is the biggest news in the Luke Pletcher and Nick Lee match. And I want to invite you to subscribe so you can stay up to date on everything going on in the world of wrestling. And of course, if that's big right now because we're heading into the biggest month of wrestling in March. Now, this match, of course, Nick Lee versus Luke Pletcher, happened this past week in the Penn State versus Ohio State duel. Penn State came out victorious with a 20-16 victory, and Nick Lee actually helped that team come out victorious with an 8-4 victory over Luke Pletcher. Now, what exactly happened in this match? I'm going to discuss that as well as compare some of these guys, each of these guys' records, as well as when Pletcher can actually get his revenge on Nick Lee. So let's discuss this match in detail. We get right in this match. In the first period, Luke Pletcher comes out very, very strong and just gets an immediate takedown within 20 seconds on Nick Lee. And I'm thinking at this point, wow, so this is how this match is going to go. I mean, Luke Pletcher just dominated for that first takedown. But Nick Lee gets right out and escapes, and they're kind of going back and forth, shooting as well as faking, doing everything they can neutral to try to get the best of his opponent. That's the first period. Ends up Nick Lee's on bottoms to start the second, or Luke Pletcher's on bottom to start the second period. Pletcher escapes right back up, gets out easily. Now, they're wrestling around a little bit, and like I said, these two guys are going back and forth. And that's why anybody who says that Luke Pletcher had a pace issue with this match, I would have to take fault with that and disagree with that, because I think he was right in there with Nick Lee, attacking. Nick Lee was just able to get the better of him in this match. Now, as we get into about a minute left in the second period, Lee scores right off of a single and goes straight for a bar, and he's run that bar pretty darn deep. And at that point in the match, I'm thinking, wow, he may actually turn Pletcher. With all the bonus he's been getting this year, he hasn't just been going to win, he's been going to get bonus and get bonus for his team. And that did not happen, but he was able to flatten Pletcher out and ultimately get 2 stall calls against Luke Pletcher. So he accumulates just under a minute of riding time heading into the third period. Now, Pletcher at this point, he knows he needs to take down. He knows he needs to do something big here. And he goes straight for the optional start and just kind of lets Nick Lee out. Nick Lee escapes, get the point there. And they're wrestling around more. Luke Pletcher shoots in. Nick Lee, though, sprawls, heavy sprawl, heavy hips, gets Luke Pletcher flattened all the way down on his face, and then as Luke Pletcher's getting up, Nick Lee just reattacks, gets right in on that shot, gets the takedown, and rides out Luke Pletcher almost until the end of the match. Pletcher escapes with around 10 seconds left to get that escape point, and he does wrestle until the whistle is blown. He shoots in on a final shot. He's not able to get it. Time expires, and Nick Lee wins 8-4 as the final score to that match. And wow, I have to say, this was honestly my favorite match of the year. I mean, it was number 1 versus number 2 going at it, and they didn't hold back anything. And I would say that they were brawling, going at it, and they were to an extent, but both these guys, neither of them are really, I would say, scrappy wrestlers. Neither of them are real chippy wrestlers. They go out there, they know what needs to get done, and they get it done either way. Now, as far as the rest of the season, this sets Nick Lee up for a very strong seeding at the Big Ten tournament. We could possibly see it two more times that these two guys wrestle, whenever Luke Pletcher could take on Lee at Big Tens as well as the national tournament. So we could see them wrestle twice in March, but by the time the season's over. Big Tens is March 7th and 8th. Nationals is the 19th through the 21st. Now, for the Big Ten seeding, this is why this match is so big for Nick Lee. This sets him up now as the number 1 seed at the Big Ten tournament. Pletcher likely going to get the 2 seed, Max Murin 3, and then Tristan Moran 4. And this is big for a couple of reasons. Max Murin and Luke Pletcher have not wrestled yet. They haven't wrestled this year yet, and mostly because also Pletcher's bumping up a weight, but Murin didn't wrestle in the duel with Ohio State versus Iowa for some reason. Now, because of that, being the 2 and 3, they'll probably meet up in the semis of Big Tens. Disbarring anything crazy or any upsets that could potentially happen at that weight. So then we could see Murin and Pletcher face off while Moran and Lee are on the other side. We know that Lee already has a major over Moran, so that sets him up well to possibly cruise right to the finals of the Big Tens. Now let's look at a couple of these. And the other thing I want to say too is that before we dive into a couple of the similar and compared wins that these two guys have over their ranked opponents, I want to say this. Luke Pletcher has been in the same exact situation before. Last season, he lost to Rowan Bravo Young in the duel, in the Penn State and Ohio State duel, but ended up beating him at the Big Ten tournament. So he's been in this situation before. And yes, he's also been in a situation where in 2017, when he was a freshman, he lost to Jimmy Goulabon in the duel and then ended up losing to him again at Nationals. But he's a freshman then, whereas I believe Jimmy Goulabon was a senior at that point in time. Now, as far as these two, let's look at some of their comparison wins this season that each of them has had. Comparing Nick Lee and Luke Pletcher's ranked top 10 wins. Of course, Nick Lee's best win right now comes over Luke Pletcher, but over the past couple of weeks, he's had wins, incredible wins over these guys, whereas Luke Pletcher has also had some great wins this season. Pletcher at the beginning of the season was the guy who defeated the number one ranked guy and has been sitting at that top spot ever since in Dom Demas. He defeated him at the beginning of the season by decision, and since that time he's also beaten Real Woods. And then Nick Lee, another ranked win that he has. Dresden, although he's in a top 10 ranked one, he's a top 20 ranked opponent, and that was actually only his second decision, his first decision in the year, but he has two decisions on the entire year, one to Pletcher and one to Dresden. The others are all by bonus point victory. Now, both of these guys have majors over Tristan Moran and Chad Redd. Nick Lee has a fall over Mitch McKee, whereas Luke Pletcher has a decision, but each of them has just absolutely dominated and commanded their way through 141 pounds. What a incredible season that both these two guys have had, and I believe that this is the best that they've wrestled, not only in their careers, not only this season, but in their entire careers. And I don't think this is going to be the last that you hear of Luke Pletcher. I think there's a very strong chance that he gets his revenge at Big Tens, and that sets up a very interesting national finals. Anyways, please let me know what you think in the comments below. Can Luke Pletcher get his revenge? Leave your thoughts on this match and everything. I want to make sure to discuss this with you in the comments below.